You are listening to Road to CEO, nothing but in-depth interviews with executives about their journeys as CEO. I'm your host, Will Marlow, and I hope you enjoy the show.
I had a dream for myself since I was like 40, 50, 60, something like that, to buy a house for my parents. And I bought it last year. And the motivation is something that keeps you going for a short time. Discipline is something that keeps you going for a long time, to get out of the bed even when the things are bad.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Road to CEO. Very lucky today to have Ognjen Radić on the show today. Ognjen is based in Belgrade. He's built some awesome companies. We're going to hear all about it. Ognjen, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So I have a deep connection to Belgrade because I've been working in Serbia for 6 years. You are based in Belgrade, I believe. Is that where we're talking from here? Are you in Belgrade right now?
Yes, in office, office in Belgrade.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, you are the first international CEO to be on the show. I, of course, have a company that has offices in Belgrade, offices in DC. And so I really love having you here. Why don't we start right at the beginning? You started and actually sold a company called FitPass, I believe it is.
Yes.
Can you tell us what
the last one?
What was that company all about?
So my partner and I, he's a Polish guy. We're working at Rocket Internet. I believe like you and most of the people know about Rocket Internet. We were in charge of Food Panda for the region, for the Eastern Europe and the Balkans. And at some point we decided to let's do it something on ourselves. We made the list of the companies that were opened in Poland, let's say now it's 15, 16, 17 years ago. But at that time, that was like 10, 12 years ago, and that are booming, let's say, at that point in Poland, because Serbia and the whole region right now is a process of let's say, like some kind of emerging markets, process of transition to capitalistic society and everything else. So we wanted to see what is successful in Poland and it was starting in Poland when the Poland was in that development, that state of development as the Serbia was at that point. So we made a list of 20 companies, 24 to be exact. We first opened a shot bar, something that's really popular around Europe and especially in Poland. It's still working here. It's doing really good. And after that, we decided that next thing we're going to do is a company that is working with benefits. That's a benefit system in Poland, which we saw, and it's pretty big company, very working very good. And my background is in sports. I mean, I was studying faculty for physical education, and I was in sports for a long time, all my life. So we decided to open something that's connected to sports, and it's in the benefit area for the employees. So we made a system that you can buy a FitPass card for your employees. They can use it in any sport venue they find in the country. So right now, FitPass, I mean, it's still working. I sold it to the French company, but it's still operational here. Mm-hmm. It has over 750 venues you can use with one card. And we have few 100,000 active users only in Serbia. So it was pretty big at the time of the sale.
That's fantastic. I love talking to people who have a vision like that. You know, it sounds like you had a very strategic thought about this, where you looked at Poland and you saw, okay, as I understand it, you saw that they were maybe 6 years or several years ahead of the
Serbia, yes, Serbia. And yep.
And so you were able to then extrapolate and say, okay, well, let's take some businesses that grew successfully over there, and let's build them over in Serbia.
Yes. I mean, the Polish people are pretty similar to Serbians with how they behave, what they're used to, and everything else. So Poland was pretty easy target to check, to use it here, and it turned out good. I mean, we opened 2 more companies later. and all of them are doing good. So maybe we will get to the end of that list of 24 companies.
Yeah. So this is a strategy that's really worked on several businesses.
Yes, it worked, and I mean, even after when we were doing the development of FitPass and opening other countries, we were looking at the markets that were growing fastest and best were the ones that were pretty similar to Serbia. It took us some time to get to that knowledge, but for example, Georgia was one of the fastest growing markets in the world that we opened, which is insane. I mean, they're not really developed or anything, but it turned out the people is similar to us. They have the same religion and everything else, same habits, and Georgia turned out for us crazy good market.
Very interesting. So as you started building the business in that way, what surprises were there? Did it work in all the places you thought it would work?
No. I mean, we were young. I opened the company 7 years ago. I was 27. My partner was 25 and a half. We were pretty young. I mean, we had some background. I was MD and him for a few years before that, but it's not the same when it's your company and it's your money on the account.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you're just CEO of someone else's company, you don't really have everything on mind. So we made some pretty stupid mistakes. For example, we entered Italian market too soon. I mean, it turned out good, but with a few million more, it would turn out even better. But we learned that a bit late. Sold it at the end to the German competitor. I mean, made pretty good money on it, but it is pretty hard. It's pretty hard. So there were some things that you need to learn on the way. Now I'm not doing the same mistakes, and that knowledge that I got from FitPass and the other companies is very valuable for me. But yeah, there were a lot of problems that we have. For Turkey was also pretty bad for us. People there are insanely hard to work with. The workforce is, let's say, lazy, to not use some other word. And the market is so big that you really need to be very strong to do something there. I mean, we were in Istanbul, but Istanbul is like almost 20 million people, and I mean, you use, I don't know, like 100,000 euros in the marketing, and no one sees that you're there. So yeah, we had some pretty stupid mistakes at the beginning, but it turned out well at the end. I mean, we made an exit pretty big. If someone told me when we were opening a company it will do that, I would shake his hand and say, okay, I take it.
Yeah. I know it's interesting how things change from when you start a business to when you're done, when you sell it. But it's also interesting to me because I think one of the best characteristics of a CEO is the ability to size up a market. I mean, that to me might be the fundamental CEO challenge, or founder, CEO. If you're in charge of the direction of a company, picking the right market is the key. I've often said that my best decision in my business was deciding that Google Ads was a high growth area. Now, seems like a pretty obvious thing to say, but it meant that I then stopped focusing on building websites. I didn't focus on social media marketing. I didn't focus on branding, all these and those things are great too. But I saw that the Google ad market was going to just completely explode. It has continued to do that. And so that made a lot of things very easy because, you get calls from people who need help with Google ads. And if I had picked my first business, meanwhile, was one where I had to create demand. And, it was a new type of software. Nobody was using it. And it worked. It was, it ultimately was a successful company, but it was not, I didn't get a taste of that super high demand that I got when I started doing this type of services business. So it sounds like you did the same kind of thing where you found something where the market was eating it up, and then you're able to see all these different markets and how they responded to it.
I mean, it makes a lot of difference what kind of company you want to have. I mean, now I probably wouldn't start a company that they want to sell in 6 years. I mean, I'm out of energy. I'm a bit too old for that again. And probably I would, even if I start FitPass, I would stay in Serbia, make some money and be good with that. But this kind of fast growth that we needed to make, especially in Europe, so we can get some VC funds, because they don't want to invest if you're not in some pretty strong Western country. That's why we got to Italy, or some crazy big market like Istanbul, that's why we got there. But if you ask me now, like, we were pretty crazy. I mean, but when you have 27, 28 years, you can be crazy and you can make risk like that. But now when I look at that right now, my God, like, I wouldn't do it again. No chance at all.
I know exactly what you mean. I sometimes wish that I would do it again. I did my first company was a software company. I raised capital for it. I worked crazy hours. I had investors and a board and everything. And I don't think I could go back and do that one. Now it's a software company, no investors, all,
easy going.
Yeah, much simpler.
Yeah, we're definitely too old.
Yeah. But so tell me though, you made an interesting comment about Istanbul being so big and so challenging as a market. I always like to chase those huge markets. So what was difficult about Istanbul?
The workforce was the biggest problem we had. They are used to not doing anything. I mean, they're very, very lazy. The unemployment rate in Istanbul at that point was like 0. So the guy like gets fired and he gets a job before he gets to the lower floor. So they don't care. They work like half a day, then they do a lunch for 3 hours, and that's it. Then sick leave, for example, it's something pretty normal to use every week, every month. And me, with my work ethics and everything, I just couldn't comprehend that someone is doing that. They were absent. Like, I got to the company from 20 people, 7 is on sick leave at the same time. So for us, that was the biggest challenge, because I had to work with myself to get used to how they operate, how they think, and everything else. And the other thing was how to get people to see you in the market, where there are gym chains that are insanely big, 50, 60 gyms. There is crazy competition on Google Ads and everything else. So the price is crazy. I mean, cost per click was few euros. So 27 times more than Serbia. I remember the exact number. Yeah. And how to get to in gyms. That was also the problem, because here in Serbia, here one serious chain, big chain. Getting into chains is a pretty big problem, because you're more a competitor to them than a partner. And in Istanbul, we had like 3 chains that had 40, 50 plus places. And that was like the big problem for us. So let's say the workforce was definitely the biggest one. And that's why I would never work in Istanbul again. After that, of course, Erdogan was the biggest problem. We lost crazy amount of money just on lira that was dropping like crazy in a week. And a lot of foreign companies started leaving and everything else. So Turkish market really crumbled at that point, because we got in like 6 months before all the problems started. And we were just getting bigger and bigger, and then everything went down. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I guess so. So maybe can you be more specific about who your buyer would have been? So you would go to the leadership of the gym chains within each country. So like you'd need to get them as partners essentially, and then at that point, if they're a successful gym, would then your partnership be successful?
That depended a lot. In the beginning, you can promise them some results, like bringing new people, blah 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 blah. But at the end, you're a competitor, and the big gym chains, their businesses. The small ones are mostly some bodybuilders, and the guy has a gym and he doesn't even know who I am or what I will do, and so on and so on. For example, now in Serbia, FitPass holds like 70% of the market. I mean, The gyms are taking money, a lot of money from us, but at the end, they're losing money because of us. The big gyms are good because like 70-80% of our business is going to them, so they take most of the money, but the small gyms are not in so good shape because we took a crazy amount of people from them, because now you can train whenever you want. So the gyms need to keep up with the quality. The competition is now crazy good. I mean, the whole market, for example, in Serbia changed completely. We have now 15, 20 gyms in Belgrade that are crazy good, crazy big, like 1,000 plus square meters. And when we were entering, you had like maybe 1, 2 big gyms. The biggest chain had 4 locations. Now he has 15. I mean, the guy helped me, I helped him. So we both developed at the same time. And a lot of small gyms closed or were bought by the big ones. So FitPass was really the game changer for Serbia. Now the same thing is happening in Bosnia and in Georgia. But in Istanbul, you know, when you get to the chain that has like 50 locations that are already doing some corporate sales, they already have clients. It's pretty hard to get them on. So we didn't even work with the biggest chain in Turkey. They didn't even want to talk with us. I mean, they can foresee what is going to happen. So yeah, it was pretty hard. I mean, we had a lot of gyms, but you know, when you're in Belgrade and you have like 200, 300 locations, you cover everything. In Istanbul, 200 locations cover like 10% of the city. So it's pretty crazy. And the sales are crazy hard there. You know, we send the salesman from one side of the city to another. It takes him like 4 hours by car. So he can do like 2 locations per day. So we had a crazy big number of sales guys that were like running around the city and trying to sign as many gyms as they can. But even after that, the corporate sales were really hard, because like the guy sits in the car and he's in the traffic for at least 2.5, 3 hours just to get like, I don't know, 7-8 blocks away. So you can't even tell him to come back to the office because he doesn't have time, and it's like 3 hours to get home. So Istanbul is pretty crazy market, and I wouldn't get back there, I don't know, for any amount of money.
It's interesting because I still remember how several years back, when I was newer in my current business, I used to make on-site visits to, you know, talk about marketing strategy with clients. You know, I would spend time, you know, half a day or even a couple hours just, you know, with the clients. And I would do this on a pretty regular basis. And I remember it would take a long time to drive there. There was a lot of time that really took as an investment. And I remember I decided I was never going to do that again. I was done, no more driving. And I remember I didn't lose a single client. Nobody cared. It was fine, you know. So basically, I cut that. That may have been one decision where I cut more out of the cost structure than any other decision I'd made. And so I sympathize with that.
Yeah, but the FitPass sales is pretty hard to do it over the online meetings or something else. I mean, you really need to do it in person because the product was new. And you really need to explain to the company HR or whoever is responsible for it. You really need to explain what you're doing, especially here, like in Serbia. The whole benefit area was zero. Like no one was doing any benefits for employees. No one was paying for anything, and here it was even taxed as part of the salary. So they paid 67% on top of what they paid to us. So it was pretty hard to get in. Turkey was a bit different because some of them were paying gyms and they need to pay food for employees and so on. But still, any kind of I don't think we closed maybe 5 deals all together. Online. Everything else was done like person to person.
That's interesting. So how big was your company as you started it from scratch? And so I imagine it was 0 when you started it. How big did it get in terms of employees?
We got to I might lie to you, but we got over 200 people for sure, but I'm not sure about the exact number. Because we had a lot of fluctuation in the number of people, because when we opened a new market, we hired, I don't know, like 50 guys to go around and sign gyms and everything else. Then they work for like 5-6 months. then we don't need them anymore, but then we need the corporate sales and so on and so on. So it was changing pretty rapidly. Then the call center gets in and so on and so on. So we had crazy differences in the number of people that are working at the same time. I mean, at the moment of sale, I even had people in Belgrade that I never met. So it was pretty good. I saw a guy in the elevator one day, like a year before we sold it. The guy was like, "Hey, how are you?" Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. I got out of the elevator and I asked my colleague, like, who's he? He was like, yeah, the guy's working for us for like a year and a half. So yeah, it was pretty big at the end, pretty big. And that's one of the main reasons why I sold it. It wasn't enjoyment anymore. It was a company with the processes, with everything started to get some different shape, and I wasn't enjoying the ride anymore.
So I remember when I was first starting out, I got advice from a venture capitalist that there were people who enjoyed taking a company from 0 to 1 million. And then there were other people who enjoyed building a company from 1 to 10 million. And then there were other people who enjoyed going from 10 to 100 million. And I always thought, I think I'll be the kind of guy that likes going from 0 to 1 million.
Yeah. Now I mean, like, I'm opening 5 different things again. I mean, so I promised myself that I will retire, but that's definitely not going to happen. I relaxed for like 3 months, and now I'm back in the machine, and I'm excited again. 10, 15 people, we're all working together like every day. It's exciting. It's good. Everything is new. Mm-hmm. And the last 2 years in FitPass, I was dead beat. I mean, and it felt in the company. You can see the company slowing down because I wasn't doing my best. I wasn't giving 100%. And it was time to leave it.
So talk to me about that a little bit. You said the last 2 years. So at what point do you think you kind of felt that it wasn't as exciting? Was it after things got easy?
It was when it got slow. At some point it got slow. It stopped being creative business. It started, you're implementing SAP and things like that. CRMs for everything. You need to implement processes for each thing that you're doing. I need to take care of the financial management, need to make plans, budgets, and so on and so on. And then that's boring. I mean, for me, that's not the thing I want to spend my life in. Mm-hmm. And that's when when I really lost interest. I was going to there, but that wasn't it anymore. And at some point, I mean, even the colleagues felt it. I mean, we stopped pushing out new things, new creative things that we can give to our customers and so on, because I was doing too much operational stuff. Because I mean, at some point, a few hundred people, everyone needs to ask you something each week, and I'll use half of the day just answer questions. And that's when I really, the last year, I really lost interest completely. Yeah. And I mean, it was pretty bad, but it took us some time to sell it. So, but it was definitely time to go. But at the beginning, I mean, we even made a pact to sell it after 6 years. Mm-hmm. So it was spot on. We sold it after 6 years. So it turned out good.
Yeah. That goes back to the whole CEO ability to kind of see around the corner a little bit. So you were able to kind of, I mean, it's very difficult to predict when you're going to be ready to sell a company, but it sounds like you were able to match that perfectly.
Like in 2 months, 2 months difference between what we thought and what happened. I mean, it was a lot of luck also. We are not that smart. And for the big benefit companies started seeing that we are good exactly at the moment that we were started thinking about selling. So we were negotiating with 3 of them at the same time. So everything turned out good. The timeline turned out pretty good. And even Serbia opened up a lot. Like 10 years ago, you wouldn't even dream about selling your company to the French company Serbia. But now is the time to do it. I mean, the French guys came and bought Serbia company. It's a big thing. I mean, in the last year, Serbia had like crazy big exits. We sold Marlow for a few $100 million.
Yeah.
And there is Nutanix bought the other company for 100 million. We have like crazy exits right now,
Yeah.
which was like insane to even think about 10, 12 years ago here.
So you basically knew who the potential buyers would be for your business.
Yes. So the big companies started playing around us. You know, the Sodexo, the biggest benefit company in the world, I think, bought let's say a competitor in Bulgaria.
Yeah.
So we reach out to them. I mean, when the big guys come, you can't really play with them. You know, you either get them under your side or you sell. I mean, if Sodexo came to Serbia with 20 millions and buys all the best gyms heroes, I'm out of business in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
So we reach out to them. Then the benefit system started playing, the Polish one started playing in Croatia. So we reached out to them too. Then the third guy came to Romania, the Up Group French company that we sold to. So we talked to them too. And then we talked to the fourth guy because there is a big three of the benefit companies, Sodexo, Up Group, and Edenred. So we talked to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, we got the best offer we can get. I mean, it was like, okay, so you give that much, then we go to the other guys, so they get this, you want to give more, and we got the best offer that we can get.
That's great. And now it sounds like you're working with a team of say 10 to 15 people at the moment, and you're doing at least one. How many more businesses do you have going on at the moment?
Four. I again started a bit more than a bit of more than I can chew, but it's pretty interesting. I got the biggest one that I'm doing right now. I got into the CBD business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got acquainted to CBD when we were selling FitPass. We had some crazy problems from the stress. Like it started taking toll on my health, and it was pretty crazy. I mean, I couldn't feel anything, but my hormones were raging from the stress and everything else. And a friend of mine suggested I should try CBD oil, and it did wonders for me. I mean, I was using it for 6 months. I didn't swear in the traffic. It really calmed me down like completely. So now, everything around behind me are CBD products.
Okay.
So that's the biggest thing that we're working on right now, and most exciting. It's pretty good, and product is good. The market is booming in Europe. In America is already crazy. I mean, you know better than me. And it's exciting. I can do whatever I want. You know, I'm not restrained with some. You need to do this, or you need to behave nice, or whatever. CBD is something fun, something good. So even the marketing strategies can be crazy. I mean, I can approach different kind of potential clients in different ways. So it's very, very, very exciting. Like FitPass when I was starting.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. We actually have a couple clients that are in the CBD space, so we know how explosive it really is. And one of the challenges though is government regulation, and we're very limited with what we're allowed to market and promote in terms of CBD, using Google and Facebook and all that. And so what kind of challenges have you had from that perspective? Are you selling directly to customers? Do you have another type of strategy?
So we started with the wholesale. We have a production in Slovenia, and the good thing about Europe is that if you licensed in Slovenia and you made it there, if you sell it in Switzerland, you're selling it under Slovenian law. Mm. So the product is under the influence of the law where it was produced. So wherever you sell it in European Union, it's still using the Slovenian laws, and Slovenia has really, really soft law about CBD or anything else. That's why we have chosen to be there. And we started with the wholesale, and now we're building a online shop, and we should start in, I think, 2 weeks. It took us some time because exactly about what you said, we had some problems with where to put where to send it, because if we send the whole batch to let's say Germany, if we sell it from Germany, then it's a different thing. So we are right now sending everything for Croatia, because it's also really light on on what you can do with CBD, but we will see. The biggest problem is that things change really fast. You know, one day is one law, and then in 10 days they bring something else. But they're mostly going in positive way. The whole European Union is going positive, and they're letting more and more of the products on the market, and with the bigger concentration and everything else. And even like few weeks ago, it was voted as a cure for epilepsy from European Union. So that will open some new doors for us also.
The health benefits seem tremendous. You know, I've used it. Yeah, I've used it. I really feel, you know, I feel like it makes a very positive impact on anxiety and on just in general on inflammation. It's amazing how many benefits there seem to be.
Yeah, I even thought it's placebo. It helped me so much that I couldn't believe that it's happening to me. I mean, if something happens and I'm expecting my body to react, and nothing happens. And besides that, you don't feel anything. Like you take it and nothing happens until you get to the point when you expect anxiety and there is no. So yeah, and I'm sleeping like a baby.
Yeah, that too.
First time in 20 years. Yeah.
Same here. I've never had great sleep in my life. Even when I was really young, I did not have great sleep. And now with CBD, it changes that.
Really, yeah. Crazy good sleep.
I think that might be the best benefit of all.
For me, definitely. For me, definitely.
So you sound like somebody who's always been interested in health. Is that something? Is that the case, or did you get into this whole field with FitPass and then with CBD? You know,
no, I was in sports since I was like 5 years old. So all my life, and even I was working as a trainer even, and I was training most of my life. And I mean, this last year is maybe the only year I had really big problems with Corona. I almost died.
Oh, wow.
I was in hospital for a long time, and even in half coma for a few days. It was pretty bad. Every other part of my life was like work and training. So yeah, I was in health for a long time, and I'm really interested in that field, in not only health as a health, but also what you should eat, what you should drink, how much you should sleep, and everything else. So yeah, FitPass was only the plus and made on that knowledge, because it had pretty big contacts in that area. I knew most of the guys that were owners here of the gyms and everything else, because I trained with most of them or worked. So I used all of that, and that's why we started with FitPass. I mean, I could use any other benefit for employees, but the sports was something that was close to me, and that's why we have chosen.
So when did you get Corona, and when did you get
last August?
Okay.
And I still have no idea where I got it, but it was starting like 3-4 months before that here to go hard. I think it was March, and I was like I had 10 kilos more. I was like in my prime, never felt better, never looked better. And it really destroyed me in 6 days. Like in 6 days, I couldn't breathe. Even though I took everything that you can take to the infusions, vitamins, everything. You even now that whatever they say you should take, I was taking it. And in 6 days, I almost couldn't drive myself to the hospital. In 2 days later, I was I don't know what's the English word for it, like hypoxia, probably something like that. I had a lack of oxygen in my brain. So like I was half dead for 3 days. and right when they were thinking about getting me to respirator, I got better.
Wow.
And it took me almost a month to so I could get to walk more than 2 meters. And even now I still feel my lungs are on 75% before. Had some heart problems and so on. It really kicked me hard. And I was the one who, I mean, I haven't been to the doctor for like 15 years. I'm really healthy. I really take care of that. I don't even have like a health card or anything. And I couldn't believe that it did something like that to me. And the interesting thing was no one in hospital was smoker. All the guys there and girls were non-smokers. And that was like one more thing that I was like really didn't think that something like that will happen. No, it's a respiratory problem, and no smokers are there.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. So did that experience? So was it this past August or a year ago?
Past like, year ago, yeah.
Okay.
Year ago, yeah. It
Wow.
was. I mean, it was experience that when I look at it, it wasn't bad for me. You know, I found out that I'm not really scared of dying, and I mean, it will sound like corny, but I'm really using now every day like it's the last one,
So
because
it did.
yeah, it did really change my point of view completely. And one more point why I wouldn't open something like FitPass again. I'm not working 15 hours a day at all. I'm spending a crazy amount of time on traveling. I bought a Harley Davidson, which I was dreaming about for like 20 years, and now that was like, okay, now
That's
is the
awesome.
time. Yeah, and I'm on it like most of the time of my life right now. And yeah, it changed my perspective, changed everything, like changed even how I'm talking with people and who I'm spending time with. I made some big cuts with some of my friends and some of other people that I really left behind, let's say it like that. And I'm definitely not losing time anymore on something that is not making me better. So yeah, it changed my perspective and everything else. So I wouldn't like dream want it to happen to anyone, but it really made a good impact on me.
Well, I'm good for you. I'm really glad that you were able to get through that, and now it sounds like mentally you're stronger than and you've got some a changed worldview in some ways.
Yes, definitely, yes.
I know for me, I didn't get COVID, but I with the whole lockdown and with all the restrictions and everything that everyone has had to deal with, it has also changed my perspective on who I spend time with, on how I use my own time in general, and on what I want to do with my career and my business.
Yes, life.
And I think there are positive things. I mean, that's a very positive, I think, thing to come out of this. And I'm sure a lot of people probably,
Yes, probably.
probably had similar views that, they want to change. They want to have quality time with the time they have left.
Exactly. I mean, well, before this, I was like, okay, I'll make it until 70 at least. But now I'm like, maybe a car can hit me tomorrow. So yeah, I'm pacing faster, but in some other direction. Money is not something that I'm chasing anymore.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something that's fulfilling me. It never was, but I was chasing some financial stability.
Yeah.
But now, like, what the hell is financial stability when you think about it? I mean, I almost died with a lot of money on my account, and so what stability? Now I don't want the money on account. Like, I invested almost everything. I mean, it's a big pressure right now because the markets are still not behaving like they should. The COVID took toll on everything, and it will take us 2 or 3 more years to get out of this. But it's more interesting, and yeah, everything changed. I mean, even the CBD business, it's a crazy risk for me. Maybe a year ago I wouldn't even do it, because I'm now, like, even I'm 34, I should start thinking about family and everything else. And no, I'm like, let's do it again, and let's spend half of the year on a bike around Europe. So yeah, my life is a lot interesting since I got COVID.
Yeah. It sounds like it. So I didn't have a Harley Davidson, but I had a Honda Shadow 600 when I was about 19 years old. I loved it. It was so much fun. It's a cruiser style motorcycle. It's a good, good bike for somebody kind of young who doesn't know what they're doing. Totally.
No, I'm a big petrolhead. I have a sport bike also. I have a super bike. I have a chopper. I have a lot of cars. I even drove some sports cars professionally, and so on and so on. So yeah, I'm a big petrolhead. But I was like putting that aside, like, I have time. No, I don't.
Yeah, that's right.
I was waiting for something, like, you postpone some things. You're like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow, or next year. Yeah, there is maybe not a next year. So
that's right.
For example, until end of this year, I have already like 6 more travel adventures planned already. I want to hit Beirut. I want to go to Middle East again, and some other things. I was living with Bedouins in the Sahara since I got COVID, and I did some crazy things that I wouldn't do before. So
That's great.
yeah. Now life is nice now.
Yeah,
It's really nice. Yeah.
That's great. Well, you know, I completely agree. I mean, one of the best decisions I've ever made was taking a cross country trip with my dad. We were in a beautiful Porsche 911, and
Nice,
you know,
my dream car.
beautiful car. Went from DC to San Francisco, and you know, that's the kind of trip that you kind of put off for a long time.
Yes.
You know, it's just completely leisurely, you know, and you know, a lot of people might consider pointless. You know, you could easily fly, and it was wonderful. One of the best decisions I've made.
Exactly. Yeah. But the best thing with a bike is like vacation starts when you sit on it, not when you get to the destination you want to get to. So
Yeah,
that's why I like the bikes.
yeah, yeah. That's great. So where have you been through Europe on the Harley? And actually, which bike is your favorite?
Now I mean the bike, the Harley is the worst and the best bike I ever drove. You know, it's big, it's loud, the brakes are bad, the ABS is bad, everything is bad about it, and I love it. You know, when you sit on it, you start it, it starts growling like an animal, and you're like, you already had the smile on your face. You drove by, the kids are waving. And you know, it brings happiness to everyone. So yeah, definitely Harley. I mean, it's an enjoyment machine. You know, I mean, I love my Yamaha, I love my Suzuki and everything else, but this is something else. You know, my trip in Alps a month ago is maybe the best experience in my life. You know, just cruising like 20 kilometers per hour and enjoying the view. It was insane, and I was alone. So now I don't even need like a company or anything. I just sit and I go and drive for like 10 days.
That's great. That's
so
great.
Yeah, definitely Harley is the best thing I bought in a long time.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, so, and it sounds like you travel alone a little bit. You know, when, one of my favorite trips ever was right after college. I got a job working for a politician. It didn't start for 6 weeks. And so I just bought a plane ticket, no planning whatsoever. Yeah. Landed in London, went through Paris, went through, spent about 10 days in Spain, you know, went to Germany, did anything, you know, basically just went wherever I want. I had a rail pass and no obligations. And that, to this day, you know, I've had a lot of trips, and that one may be the best one.
Yeah. But now I am behaving now like a student. So I'm recreating those trips that we had at that point, going to Istanbul with Orient Express and stuff like that for 30 hours. For the last 6 years, I was like, didn't do anything crazy. Now I'm doing everything crazy, you know, even jumping from the plane and stuff like that.
So do you currently work with anybody, with people who were on your team at FitPass, or
I'm not allowed to hire them.
Okay.
So officially none of them is working for me, let's say it like that. But yeah, I use some of them, not like full time, but I mean, it's my team, it's my other family. The guys, most of the guys there were the core team that they had. It was their first job. Most of them are a lot younger than me, and most of them grew with me. So yeah, I can't really lose that connections. I'm even the best man for 2 of them on their weddings, and we are really close. Like there are 10, 15 people that are literally like brothers and sisters to me. So yeah, some of them still work with me, and I'm in contact with all all rest of them.
To me, that's the sign of a good business, a good CEO, somebody who, I remember when I was on Capitol Hill in DC, you know, my first career was actually in politics rather than in business. And I remember I was told that you can always tell the corrupt the corrupt politicians because they can't keep a staff. You know, the staff will rotate just constantly, and sure enough, that's exactly what I observed firsthand. You know, you could see some congressmen, they would have their top aide would rotate. They'd be there for 4 months and then they'd get fired and then they'd have to find a new one. So I've always looked to businesses that have long-term teams and thought, that's a sign that things are being done right.
It's not only that, if I'm not smiling when I get into the office, but looking like, oh my God, where I got, you don't feel good, And like this, I mean, all of them, my friends, we were like traveling together, like to business meetings, or even we had like team building every 2 or 3 months, somewhere out to Belgrade and so on and so on. I mean, the atmosphere for me is something that's really important in every business, because if I get up in the morning and I think, oh my God, I need to get there again, then I'm not doing something. Then I'm not doing something good. So even change the team or change the place there where you are. And I mean, it was even better before I started building my own businesses. I never stuck for long in a company where I didn't feel good, even if the money was good and everything else. If the atmosphere was bad, I'm leaving.
So, you've said a couple times that money is not the key motivator, and it never really was your key motivator. What was the motivation for you in your early days?
It was pretty hard here in Serbia. When we talked, I was even in Florida for a year, and I had to go there to work because Serbia was in pretty bad shape 12, 13, 14 years ago. The finding job here was hard. The salaries were very low and so on and so on. So I had a dream for myself since I was like 16, 14, 14, 15, 16, something like that, to buy a house for my parents. And I bought it last year. And the motivation is something that keeps you going for a short time. Discipline is something that keeps you going for a long time, to get out of the bed even when the things are bad. And the thing that was pushing me above that discipline was that to get in that house. I mean, it sounds like funny to buy a house. I mean, buying a house here is not a big amount of money, but for me, that was the point when I did it. I said to myself, I did it. I mean, we sold company for a few millions, but until I bought that house, that day was the day when I said, that's it, you did it, man. And then now it's the time to relax and take it easy and slow down. So that is something that I was pulling the motivation when the things were really hard. And I mean, in Serbia, you don't chase the money. We didn't have dreams. My generation didn't have dreams of millions. When you were growing up here, we couldn't even, what I said before, like dream about French company coming here and buying something that you built here. It's insane. I mean, even Rocket Internet, when they came here and they called me to hire me, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Like, it was pretty strange to see something of that big that coming to this market. And now the things are changing rapidly. A lot of foreign companies came here in the last 3-4 years, and things are different. So now the kids can dream about the money, and they can find motivation in chasing money. In my time, you were finding motivation to stay alive, just get enough to get through the month. And that's why I got to America. I was working there, and when I got back, it was still pretty bad. I mean, when I tell people that I was working for 300 euros or less for 5 years here, they're like, "Oh my God, that's insane! Like, how did you survive?" And now when I look at it, I don't know how I survived. I was paying for to eat. I was driving a car. I mean, it was a pretty bad car, but I was driving, and I was paying for apartment and everything else, and 300 euros. Now 300 euros. My God, like how did they do it? So yeah, my generation didn't really dream about big money. We were dreaming about getting through. And now the times are different. So now you can kids here can really think about something big, and I enjoying talking to them now and helping them, because like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the kids that they helped got 15 million euro investment. It's crazy, that something like that is happening here. It's really not something that we are here used to.
So what do you think the future holds for Serbia? I'm somebody who's deeply invested, in a lot of ways in Serbia. What do you think the future holds? Do you think it's gonna?
Yeah, I think the market is stable now. The things are looking better. We will have at least 10 more years of the hard times of transition and being a cheap workforce and so on and so on. We can see a lot of people leaving, trying to get something better in the foreign countries. I mean, I was the one who left, but I came back because I found out that not having friends and family around is can't be bought by money. So again, I wasn't motivated by money. So I think it looks good. You know, the political situation is still shaky, but it's more shaky like it's some made way than it's really shaky. I mean, the situation down with Kosovo will something will happen, but I don't think that it will take any toll on stability of the region. So yeah, the things are looking good, even for not only for us but the surrounding countries. The market is opening up, the big players are coming, the money is pouring in. So I have big hopes for Serbia right now, and I hope this COVID will end soon before it gets to we all get to the point of no return, because it's already hard for a lot of people here. I think the next year will be the hardest, because we are starting to feel the problems now. And the next year will be insane. I mean, the layoffs here are already starting. There are things missing in markets. You know, there is not enough production. China is late with everything. I mean, we wait for containers a month or 2 months longer than we are used to. So I think the next year will be the worst ever, and that's when we will see how much the COVID took from us. Yeah. So, but I'm pretty positive about the drugs and everything. I mean, Pfizer started testing some oral medication yesterday. They will solve that. That's not the question. But the economic situation, I think next year will be crazy bad.
Yeah. So I've got one other question about business for you here. So, do you rely on somebody for your operations? And do you have somebody like a COO that you rely on for, you know, helping build internal processes and kind of doing some of the administrative things and doing some of the things that I think you indicated as the company got bigger for your first company, FitPass, some of those things you didn't really like. How are you dealing with that now? Like, are you making plans for having essentially a COO type?
I'm a pretty hands-on guy, operational type. You know, I like to set things, set up all things how they should look, because the level of the quality that I want to work with is hard to find in someone else. Customer care, how the things are packed, sent. How do you negotiate? Like every little thing, I am the one who wants to set it up, and at the beginning have complete control of it, because I'm not sure that the other guy would do it on that level. Because, like, for example, customer care for me is the main point of every business you make. So, for example, in FitPass we had like 80 pages book for call center, how they should behave, different scenarios, how they should talk to the people, and so on and so on. So at the beginning, no, I'm not having anyone, because until I set everything up and I'm satisfied how it's going, I don't lose complete control of it at all. But later, yes. I mean, in FitPass, the operational stuff that I had problems with was like signing papers, documents, banks, lawyers, and so on and so on. I mean, it's a big deal when you're big, like working on 6 markets and having 16 different banks that are working with you, and payment processors, and 20 lawyers, and at least one insane client every day who is threatening to sue you or whatever, and he's just crazy. But it's something that you also need to think about. So that's the thing that I was thinking when I said operations. So I wasn't really doing classic operational company stuff, but just some CEO things that no one wants to work with. You know, the boring stuff.
I get that. Yeah, I can relate. So how can people follow you? How can they follow your current company? You know, if somebody's really interested in your CBD products, you know, where should they go?
The website will be live soon. It's hempinesscbd.com.
I love that
so
name.
like happiness, but hempiness. So it's easy to remember it and pronounce it. So in 2 weeks you will be able to find us. I mean, it's already live, but it's not operational. We are still working on it. But I think until you publish this podcast, it will be operational for a long time.
For my personal curiosity, was it difficult to get that URL, or did you get lucky and was it available? Did you have to? I imagine it would be. It sounds pretty expensive to me.
Yeah, it was expensive. I mean, even hempiness.com is crazy expensive. That's why I needed to add CBD, but this one was too. But I mean, the guy who has hempiness.com is insane, obviously.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
I don't usually spend a ton of money on URLs, but I do. I've had to negotiate a handful, and people who own certain URLs get crazy. They are anybody that owns a 3-letter URL, for instance, they want $1 million plus.
No, with no problem, and they're not ashamed to say it. Yeah. No problem at all. I mean, but the name was so good, I couldn't pass it. I really had to take it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic name for that product, and the fact is a consumer-oriented business, like a CBD company, in my opinion, should be invested in that. So much comes down to your brand, and so that's probably a great investment.
Yeah, and then now the brand is the biggest let's say issue that I have, because I'm not really sure what side should I take. Should I go with like Dan Bilzerian and his Ignite, and go with naked girls and stuff like that, because I mean it's working for him, but the Europe is maybe a bit more conservative and that wouldn't pass. So I go with, or maybe I should go with some kind of pharmacy looking brand and so on and so on. So yeah, that's why the CBD is fun. I can do whatever I want, and everything will probably pass.
I think that when I think of CBD, I look to the beer market and the alcohol market and as well as some health products, but with the beer market in particular, where you've got product packaging, you've got naming, you've got story, like to me, there's got to be a lot of similarities in terms of how consumers are going to react to CBD.
Exactly, and I think the clients are pretty much the same, in terms of the age and everything else. So I was even looking at the craft market in Germany, the beer craft market, because the research that we did, it turned out that the focus group is the same as the users of beer, vape, you have it, what it is, vape things and so on and so on. For example, not smokers, and which was for me pretty interesting. I was looking already at the beer craft market in Germany, and they have like pretty creative campaigns and everything else, looking good, and I hope it also tastes good. I'll have to try it.
But one of the other challenges for CBD, in my opinion, is also it has so many benefits that if you tell somebody, okay, this will help your sleep, it'll help your anxiety, it'll help this, it'll help that, then it's too many things. It's so many things. I mean, sure, it's great for the early adopters and the people who are interested in that kind of thing. But the other consideration, in my opinion, is is there can there be a Volvo type strategy where sure, Volvo cars have they can get you around. Maybe they have good traction. They're this, they're that, but really they're safe. Like safe is the one thing that people think of with Volvo. So for me, because I've always had trouble sleeping, I feel like, there should probably be a CBD product that just focuses 100% on that benefit.
Yeah, we will do that. We have a tea for that. We made a tea specifically sleep tea. But that's one of the issues. The biggest issue that we are seeing here, because Europe is still pretty young with CBD. In America, it's already there for 10 years. In Europe, it's just getting started. It shouldn't. People still don't know what it is, and they still think it's marijuana. So that's the biggest problem we have. Everyone looks at it as a drug and not as a cure. Yeah. And it will take a lot of time to get out of the people's heads that CBD is not that. So I'm trying to like completely move the look of the leaf of the marijuana from everything and the joint and everything that's connected with the, let's say, potheads, you know, because the people here, Europe is it's much more conservative market than America, and we need to make a completely different approach. And even now that I'm thinking about Russia and the Middle East, yeah, it will be even harder than Europe. So that's the main issue that we have right here now. So that's why I'm thinking about how to go with what brand, because if I go too loose and then fun, it will still be considered as something bad, you know. So that's why I'm thinking about going to like completely like a pharmacy or pharmacy production or something like that to be like clear and going like, yeah, this is for your well-being, not for fun, but something like a cure, completely like medicine.
Well, I think that's fascinating, and I wish you the best of luck with the new venture.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll have links in the podcast and on social media for the new business for Hempiness, and so hopefully everybody will go out there and get some CBD products wherever they're available from you. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you, Kevin.